Start recording. Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, or actually the facilities workshop. Welcome everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. And that brings us into the facilities workshop.
Yes, so the intent for tonight is through the generosity of our patrons, we will be collecting plant facility levy dollars this year, and wanted to be able to sit down with the board and just have a conversation about what your priorities might be for those dollars. And our facility director is here. He definitely has some input with regard to things that needs that we have at the building levels, and then Jessica has some thoughts. So one of the things that I asked Jessica to do is, well, two things. One is just to look at the budget that the former CFO had put together to see what he had budgeted just for normal yearly work that the facilities department does. What does that budget look like, and is it enough to do the work that needs to be done? And then the other thing that I asked her about is one of the things that we had when I was a building principal that the former superintendent took away was a small allocation from the plant facilities levy for furniture and equipment. And so when that happened, she shifted those expenditures into the instructional supplies budget at the building level, which doesn't seem an appropriate place to be taking those dollars. And we as part of making some cuts.
Hang on, I'm trying to get Dave into the spreadsheet because
I
it
can
wasn't
see it fine.
linked.
It's fine up there.
Are you,
But yeah.
you sure? Okay.
It's fine.
It wasn't linked to the board book.
Yeah. As we looked at where can we make some cuts due to the shift from enrollment funding to ADA, we did make some cuts to the instructional accounts at the building levels because they were pretty large, partly because they were using those dollars for furniture and equipment. And so one of the things that I would ask the board to consider as we kind of work through this is having some monies set aside specifically for building furniture and equipment needs as they come up, rather than an allocation at each building. Because if we do an allocation at each building, they get spent regardless of whether it's a need or a want, and we want it to be a need. So if we hold them at the district level and we have to add a classroom because we need a teacher and we don't have the furniture stored at facilities to outfit that classroom, then that would be a need, and we would purchase it from the district at the district level. So those are just a couple of things that we were kind of thinking about from a budget perspective. And then Mike has some thoughts about ongoing projects at the schools. I would, before we get to the actual schools, one of the things that I think we need to address at this building, and we haven't done it because we really prioritize the buildings where kids are, but we have nightly meetings in this building at least two times a week, if not more. And oftentimes it's just a bunch of women here at night. And so, and there's really no security in this office. So we don't have a way to like buzz people in. We don't have an emergency button, so if there was an active shooter kind of a situation, there's no way in this office for us to tell anybody that we have a situation. And we just haven't outfitted this office with any kind of security. And I do think we need to think about what that might it wouldn't be very much money, but I think there's a need here. Just to make sure that people here are safe when they're working. And then the other one, and I don't know if it's on your radar, but the bleachers at Lakeland High School football, the stadium, are pulling
Sagging.
away from and sagging. When they did some looking into that, it sounds like when they built that, they used, just like they did in lots of different places, they used wood, like trees, to fill the holes, and then they put the concrete, so that all has decomposed, and you're shaking your head no.
Not to my knowledge,
Well,
and I was here when it was built.
okay, I
I don't know what the problem is, but
Yeah, I have, that's the first I've heard of that
that
scenario.
was just shared with
but-
me, but
The
it,
whole
for
right
whatever
side of the
is caving
whole
in.
right side of the visitor section is doing this.
It's caving in.
It's all caving in. It's all the whole hillside's coming down. So the bleachers are bent, and there's big cracks in the cement, and it's not very good.
So anyway, that could potentially be a safety concern with
Yeah, we'll take a look at that for sure, a real good look.
people sitting on those bleachers. So anyway, I'm gonna turn over to you, cause that's all I know.
Well, we need to talk about the Spirit Link classrooms too,
Yes,
for
let's
sure,
do that.
because it's time sensitive,
Yeah.
just in regards to the schedule. So we have 2 classrooms of the 7 that the carpet was put directly onto concrete, which is great. The other 5 remaining rooms, it was put on the old asbestos tile, which in prospecting and peeling up the carpet, the tile was coming with it, so they stopped. And I got a bid, and just got the bid today to have that abatement done at just a little over $48,000. So essentially, that project is on hold until we make a decision on what we want to do. We've committed to the carpet. I mean, I think it's a necessary evil to have it done. I mean, they should have done it way back when. My opinion is you're going to pay for it one way or another. Either pay for it then or now. It's going to come around and bite us if we don't. But I'm open to input on that scenario and what you guys think. The only issue is that time sensitive, meaning if we approve it, it would be in the next couple weeks they could get it done. If we don't and we drag it on, I can't guarantee we'll be able to get it done before school starts. And so, do we go a whole nother year without, I guess is the question.
Right, and I would tell you
To have a couple rooms with carpet in it just seems, I don't think that's gonna go over real well, but
right.
anyway.
And we have one teacher that I think is poised to hire an attorney.
Okay,
There's some
so
concerns.
I just wanna step back just a couple steps. You want us to potentially address district office security needs, correct, and furniture for schools? Or furniture
Just
allowance?
having just maybe a set aside from the plant facility levy dollars of like, I think we said like $100,000, that if we had, so we had a situation a couple years ago where we had a student desk at Lakeland High School that collapsed. Dave's son was actually sitting in it and it injured him, and there were some old desks that we should have gotten rid of and replaced because they were past their lifespan. Currently, the principals don't have the ability to go through and start looking at, like at the elementary level, we have chairs that have the rivets on the seat, and so when they start cracking, they crack in front of and behind, and then the little kids sit on it and it pinches the tinies. The principals need the ability to go through their classrooms and weed some of those things out and purchase kind of on a rotation furniture that is not going to break down on us. At Timberlake High School, they're in desperate need of blinds. That would come out of the furniture and equipment budget. So we just want the ability for our administrators to reach out and say, we have this furniture or this equipment need, and we just want a line item for it so that we can stay within a budget.
You want to take that out of the plant facility money?
Yes, because it's not budgeted right now.
Right, but we didn't advocate for that within the plant facility, correct?
Yeah, building needs, and it did
Maintenance and
say,
needs, okay.
yep, and it did say equipment.
And then, Mike, you're just bringing the Spirit Lake classrooms?
Yeah, just because the project is kind of underway in a sense. They're doing the two classrooms that the carpet was just on the concrete, no problem. They started that today. The remaining 5 that were on the original 7 need this other step to be done before we can even dive into doing the carpet. And the thing is we've committed to the carpet already.
Yep.
I don't know. This is something that really wasn't on my radar 100%. It's all time consuming right now with that, and then this project over here, which is going great, by the way. I just don't think if we choose not to do it, it's going to be all this next year is going to be a thorn in all of our sides, I think. And I know it's a lot of money, but it's just
Well, we have health
you can't just
issues
hire
that
anybody to come do
we
it.
have to
I
take
mean, it's
care
got to
of.
be done. Containment is what the price is why it's so expensive. It's all the prep work. You know, to contain all that stuff while they're demoing it, that's where you pay. And, you know, I mean, there are several companies that do that. It's just a necessary evil. I wish they would have done it back in the day, and you know,
Right.
a lot of things come back around now that we have to deal with. And I'm not blaming anybody. It's just
So
you're
the
going to pay for
tiles
it one way or
the
another.
tiles coming up with the
Yeah.
carpet?
So the
But is it breaking?
No, so it's not breaking. So it's the mastic that holds the tiles
Yeah.
down to the floor.
Right.
You know. And in all honesty, between you and I, unless the stuff is ground on or gets airborne,
Right.
you know, but the thing is we have to treat it as such
Right.
because it's a lot of liability. And so you pay for that, unfortunately. But with the short window we have to work in, if I don't get a green light to do it fairly quick, I don't know that I think we're going to miss our window to get it done over the summertime because everybody's so busy. And coming a little bit late to the party anyway on that carpet project, it was a miracle we'd even get fit in this summer as it was. So I have guys that'll bend over backwards and make it happen. We just have to come to a decision on what we want to do to keep forward progress going on, if that's what we want to do.
And
So,
when we talked about it, we knew that this might be a
Potential,
possibility.
yeah, yeah.
So, and luckily it's under 50,000, so we don't have to go out for bid.
Right.
We just.
How many people did you get a quote on?
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah, he's my main contractor that's doing all the rebuild over here. He's my disaster guy I've been using for 7 years.
Okay.
Everything has been, for the most part to this point, all insurance related. So going out now in a non-insurance situation, we're under that 50,000 threshold, and the things I've been having him do all these years, and so it's not been a problem. I'm happy with his work. They're outstanding. They
Who
really
is
bend
it?
over backwards. It's Compass Construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this is a perfect situation. I mean, they're going to get us in if we choose to go that route and just get it done. It's about I think he said about a week and a half to 2 week project, start to finish, because they have to grind all the residue off the concrete. I mean, it's very tedious and labor intensive, so that we have something we can adhere to that we don't have to worry about moving forward again. So anyway, I was hoping it wasn't going to come to this. I was hoping that the carpet was just going to peel off and the tile would stay put and boom, but not the case. Nothing's going easy this summer.
Yeah. So that was just, and we do have the plant facility dollars, so that's one small little project that I would recommend that we move forward on, so that we can make sure that classrooms have carpet before we get started. And it'll put teachers' minds at ease, because we have had a lot of weird illnesses in that building, in that particular wing, so. Other than that, when Mike and I talked, we, just talking about like large scale projects, we're not sure what you guys have on your radar. I know that we had talked previously about the siding at John Brown being the next building. Mike likes to do things by system, so we've done the roofing system at all of our schools, so they all have a 20 or to 50-year warranty, depending on which school you're talking about. So since we started with siding, his preference would be that we just continue with the siding projects and start working our way through the rest of the district and bring that system kind of up to speed on all of our buildings. So not all of them have the wood siding. Like Betty Kiefer has the cinder block exterior, but it desperately needs to be painted, and it has to be, I mean, there's prep work to get the old paint kind of off, and then painted, and so that could be part of that cycle if that's what the board wants. I don't know if you had other facilities needs or things that were on your radar that you want to talk about.
I'm just continuing to focus on systems that affect the function of the building. You know, the safety and security aspect, what potentially would shut a building down. You know, like we had a couple of winters ago, we had the boilers go down at Lakeland High School. We had to close school for, I think it was for a day. My focus is making sure that that doesn't happen. And then in between all that is you know, doing things like carpet. You know, I started the carpet process here a couple of years ago. Picking schools, not necessarily the oldest schools like Garwood that have never had carpet, you know, and the carpet was so worn in areas of that building that it was just the backing. You didn't even see any carpet anymore. So doing that in stages across the board, in between taking care of systems that are going to ensure that the building can still function. I don't like bouncing around, kind of like Lisa was saying. We've kind of bit off a big piece of the pie now with the siding. I'd like to just continue on with, you know, doors, windows, the whole 9 yards, and keeping in mind of the security aspect of it, like Lakeland High School, for instance, needs some attention on their doors, minus areas that were just put together like in '06 when they did the addition. But the original parts of the building, they need some love, and I just would like to continue on if that's what we're going to do, since we've already kind of started that, see that through to the end, kind of like I did with the roofing, and then we have that system out of the way. And then we can move interior, but keeping in mind that I am keeping track of the interior stuff and doing that under the normal annual budget, you know, little bits at a time. Everything I do has to be little bits at a time, and it's still, as much as I hate to say it, it's still reactionary. I'm slowly starting to get a baseline now, like with the roofing matrix. You can see where I can anticipate when a building is going to be up for a re-roof again. But I'm not to that point necessarily on all the other mechanical stuff, because I'm still just reacting, you know, from a long time of things being right, and that just takes time. And I hate to keep harping on the roof deal, but that's 7 years I've got involved with that, and we're just now to a point where I got a little bit of breathing room, where I can strategically go, okay, in 30 years that building needs to be, you know, dealt with again with annual preventative maintenance on all these to protect all the money that we've invested to this point. So that's kind of a brief overview of what I'm doing and how I'm approaching the building, just because that's the only way I know how to do it. It'd be nice if I was able to do documents like this for every mechanical system we have, but it's just, I'm not to that point yet. So still doing reactionary stuff, which I don't, it's not my, you know, I don't prefer that, but I have no choice. So I guess getting your guys' input on what your priorities might be, and if they align with what I'm doing, or especially on the capital side with the siding and stuff, moving forward, if that's what you guys want to continue to do.
Well, respecting the concept of, you know, making now, instead of the roof be the major project, all sidings and exteriors being the emphasis. We have the middle school, we have Athol, we have Spirit Lake that are destined. But I don't have an understanding of all the exterior needs of all the other buildings. And we don't seem to have anything in here that, I mean, we've got the painting exterior, interior, but all it's showing is some interior, some interior. So there isn't a layout for the board to understand, you know, what's the cost dynamic, because if it's just a matter of painting Betty Kiefer as opposed to ripping off siding and putting up whole, I mean, we don't know that. So that information would be at least helpful for me. I would assume for everybody else, but I know for me it would be, because I don't have an understanding of the makeup of all of our buildings. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And like I said, the only document that I have that is fairly accurate would be the roofing matrix, because that's where most of my time has been devoted. This document you have right here is me going in, inputting things that we've done, but there's a lot of room to grow on this document still. The money that we've invested in deciding at the 3 buildings that we've already done is going to be a bulk. It's going to be worst case scenario, minus John Brown, because buildings like Betty Kiefer and Garwood, they're just in need of some deferred maintenance, some soffit work, some painting. Nothing needs to be tore off. As we continue down the road, we've picked the worst ones so far.
So cost-wise, you'll see a reduction in cost compared to the worst 3 that we've done. So, but I can get information for that. I mean, we're next summer on Spirit Lake and Athol, and then I would think that if we chose to continue down this road, it'd be the following summer that we would add a couple more buildings, timeline-wise.
Well,
so
respectfully though, if it's not major overhauls,
right.
I mean, is it going to take 2 or 3 or 4 years to hit all of them exteriorly?
Well, not necessarily. It comes down
Okay.
to the money part of it, and I'm not
Right.
100% privy to that part of the business. So I would just have to get information and start getting some prices rounded up to find out what we're looking at. All I can say is that the worst of it really is going to be over after these 3
Correct.
are done,
Correct.
and that's just
And
to the nature of the
and
construction.
John Brown.
would be the start of the next phase, if you want to call it that. But it probably isn't going to. Well, it's hard to say if it's going to be as rough as some of the other 3. But once we get past that building, the only other building of that vintage would be the food service building, and it's much smaller. We get into some more modern construction where we're not tearing as much stuff off the building, to get it to a state where we can work with it. So,
Well, and money-wise, we said Spirit Lake, Athol, and the junior high. Money-wise, we put that money in this year.
Mhm.
They're not being done till next year, just because
Correct.
timing for that contractor.
Correct. All
But
the
I would
materials
assume if
should
we're
be
not
there.
using that same contractor to do just a painting job, we could do those next year at the same time that we would be doing Athol and
Yeah.
Spirit Lake.
Sure, yeah, there's
Right?
nothing, yeah, I can't, there's a good possibility it wouldn't be Emmerich Construction. In that situation, we would just go out to bid for a painting contractor. We wouldn't need
Right.
an outfit like that
Mhm.
necessarily to take care of the stuff on the more modern buildings that just require a little TLC.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so the question is do we prioritize that work because we can get it done next summer?
Mhm.
Or do we prioritize and then wait and take care of John Brown the following year after Spirit Lake and Athol are done? And if we're happy with Emmerich, then Emmerich can do that work, or we can put it out to bid again. But it's really, I guess what we're after is what is the desire of the board? What would you like to see us focus on with those plant facility dollars?
Gotta back up for a minute. Do you have any track record on what you have typically spent for furniture and equipment in the last 5 years, let's say?
I don't know if we do.
Not that I have access.
We'd have to actually ask Annette to go through POs, I think, because all of those dollars were just part of the instructional supply budget, so you'd have to go through the 410 accounts and all the buildings and then
So
look
when you
for those.
suggested setting aside 100,000, that's just a nice round figure.
Because we have 11
We'll do it
buildings.
one way or the other.
Right, we have 11 buildings, and I don't anticipate that we're gonna have huge needs, but even, like, I know when I was principal at Betty Kiefer, if you were gonna buy new, and that was a long time ago, but if you were gonna buy new desks and new chairs for one classroom, you were looking at close to $5,000.
Yeah.
And so, so we were just thinking, we have 11 schools, $100,000 is, a little bit less than $10,000 per school.
We can tie it to FTE too. It works out to be about $21.40 per FTE at each school, so it allocate based on enrollment.
On classrooms.
What kinds of equipment purchases outside of furniture do you think we're looking at?
Blinds, which is for Ryan at Timberlake High School is a huge safety concern. They have several classrooms where they're either missing the slats in the blinds, so there's no blinds, or the blinds are broken and they can't close them.
Is that tent cheaper? Put the tent on the windows,
It's-
one way tent?
It's still,
I don't know
you
if
can
it's,
still see in if you come right up to it, and you can
Yeah.
still see into the classrooms.
that tent was pricey if I remember right.
It
It
was.
didn't come through our department as far as the purchase, but I don't think it's cheap.
No, it wasn't cheap.
I thought that was received by grant money, the 3M.
We paid for that.
Okay.
And the blind thing is a kind of a work in progress right now. We have work orders. We're chipping away at that.
Is that
So-
a safety issue you're describing?
Yes.
Do we have state safety dollars that we can?
We get $58,000 for safety, and that's what we used to pay for part of one of our, SROs.
So that's pretty well consumed then.
And then the state put out their safety grant, which we applied for, but you have to take care of, before you can do any of those kinds of things, you have to take care of any deficiencies that the state safety, the inspector from the Idaho Office of School Safety and Security did a safety audit for every one of our buildings. And the biggest vulnerability for us is we have 4-foot fences at our elementary schools, and they should be 6. And so we applied for our safety grant. I think we're gonna get 260, 220,000. It's gonna cost us 290 if we do all of the fencing this year. Otherwise, we'd save $70,000 and apply for the grant again next year to finish it up. But we have to take care of the fence before we can do anything else.
Okay, so is that in the middle to do that then?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've applied for the grant.
The grant.
They
But we don't
start-
know whether we got it.
They start awarding on the 15th of July.
So you don't know that you have 220,000, you think you're getting 220,000?
That's what's been applied for.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically 20,000 per building.
Building, okay.
And then you can choose to do individual projects at each building, or you can choose to do a district-wide project to use all funds from all buildings. And so
Okay.
that we chose, I think it was brought up at the June 5th meeting.
Yeah.
Special meeting, that we were gonna take care of the safety plan and apply for it using all schools.
Yeah.
So you got a $70,000 shortfall to do that, then that will come out of my facilities.
Well, we can either do that if that's what the board wants to do, or we take care of $220,000 worth of the job this year, and then when the grant comes up again next year from the state, we apply the 70,000 toward finishing it, and then we would have the other 150,000 that we could start other projects that are safety related.
Provided those funds are available again the next year.
Right, as long as the legislature.
Ideally, from a cost perspective, if we did it all at once, it would be probably better for us. So I would advocate, if we have the funds available, to just get the project done.
Nope, that's why you're here.
So it's roughly 48,000 per building for fencing.
Not all, no, it's more than that, and not all of our buildings need the fencing. It's our elementary schools.
I could tell you.
Yeah, well, the older schools, Spirit Lake, like Twin Lakes is good.
Right.
Athol would need some attention.
Don't we have areas at Twin Lakes though where it needs to be closed off?
Or needs to be closed off.
John Brown has an area that has to be closed off.
Or does
Well,
it
if
have
the
to be closed off
preschool
at
stays
Twin?
at Twin, that section for those children has to be enclosed, and it hasn't been, and we are really pushing it there.
Yeah.
We
so-
have been pushing it for years. So either we move the preschool to a secure location for those kids, or we fence it in.
Whereabouts at Twin are you talking about that needs to be fenced in?
Isn't there an opening off of the parking lot?
There shouldn't be. Tiffany put gates up where the walkthrough,
Uh-huh.
single walkthrough was at. She put gates up there
So
a
that's
couple
done.
years ago, and then we switched those gates out to full sliding gates. So there is no, there is no access at
And
all.
those are 6 feet tall.
Mhm.
So the
What-
schools we put in the application are Betty Keeper, Spirit Lake, Lakeland Middle, Mountain View, Athol, Garwood, and John Brown.
Those were the ones that were identified in our safety.
If you don't mind me asking, on the preschool side at Twin, where do they want it fenced in?
Those
It-
children that are in the preschool, according to the federal law,
Mhm.
they have to have their own play equipment. They have to be in an
Oh.
enclosed area where they cannot escape.
I gotcha.
And we don't offer that. We don't
I
want
gotcha.
them to escape. They can't escape. We don't want those
So,
little boogers escaping.
If we're gonna do fencing, we could definitely add that, and that's not a very big space, so we could look at that if
And Mike, do you know what, you know, at round figure, how much we spend on outside contractors a year?
I'd have to.
Plumbers and electricians and.
Enough that I've had the conversation with Lisa quite a bit about wanting to hire a plumber and
Yeah.
electrician.
Right.
I don't know off the top of my head, a lot.
Yeah, so.
You know,
Yeah,
because
we
a lot of the
call
stuff.
Sawyer Plumbing every time we have a.
Yeah.
My guys handle, you know, basic stuff, but if we
Yeah.
get into a situation where it's like, if we can't resolve it right now, we have to close the school down, we're not equipped for
Right.
that. We don't have all the stuff on the truck to handle that. So, and electrical is kind of the same way. But it's enough to warrant, in my opinion, me having
The
licensed
full-time,
folks on staff.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what, I think we should do that. But,
We can't do it out of plant facility levy.
You can only do, projects that'll last more than a year, there can be no
And no
salaries
no
in
staffing,
branch
yeah.
in there.
Yeah, that's,
But we could look, I mean, if we're
well,
paying
yeah,
the
I mean,
contracted
we're paying all
fees
this
out
money
of-
out and we should have people that know how to do a little something. I mean, we're just blowing money. It's just like the junior high, they want $100,000 to pay to junior high, you know? We had 15 people and painted a whole room in 2 hours. And it, you know, it's not that hard. But they act like it's rocket science.
I got paint all over my hands.
Yeah, exactly. Won't come off.
No, I agree with that, but the personnel costs cannot come from plant facilities.
No, but there's probably different ways we could do it.
Well, we're probably paying those contracted fees out of general fund, so
Right.
you basically
Right.
are gonna
Trade-
shift your,
that's a trade-off.
exactly.
Mhm.
Shift it from operations to
And Mike has been
salaries.
advocating for this for a few years about just, you know, looking at how much is contracted out, so.
Because I'm in
it's been
complete
a-
agreement. I mean, it kills me to have to do that, you know, on a regular basis.
Crazy.
It is. I just,
Right, so
Not
we
a-
do have an HVAC person on staff, so
Right.
we don't have to
We have a few,
contract,
yeah.
we don't have to contract for that service. But we don't have
So
electrician.
you would
we
do
don't
a,
have
if you
plumbing.
had your choice, it would be a plumber and electrician, or?
Mm-hmm.
Those
Yeah,
two?
those are the two trades that we contract a lot with on a regular basis. That would kind of round out the skill set. And like I said, I've got a great skill set in my shop. It's just that when it comes to the real technical stuff, we're just not equipped at the end of the day to handle an emergency that comes up. I mean, when it's a matter of, uh-oh, we gotta shut the school down, that's the stuff I'm looking at.
Right.
So it's be very beneficial, plus the demand. I mean, a lot of schools, you know, want power run and things like that for whatever, and, you know, we can do it to a point, but it would be so nice to have somebody on staff, you know, that, yeah, it would be. I'll keep advocating for it.
Back to the fencing issue, where did the 290 figure come from? How was that estimate arrived at?
Mike got a kind of a per linear foot quote, and then based on what was assessed in our vulnerability, he was translated that.
Yeah, I called Idaho Fence and had them give me a demo and install cost per square foot, and based on that,
Per linear foot?
yeah, based on that, I could measure what we had feet wise out of the properties, and then I calculated it out.
It's
So,
about 8,400 or linear feet.
So, putting the pieces together, you're $48,000 for asbestos abatement, $100,000 for equipment, $70,000 for fencing. What else?
That leaves us with 928,000. Just keeping track.
I would say probably 15,000 for safety, 10 to 15 here.
Oh, for this building, okay.
Based on just a key card access on the front,
mhm.
and then the Pepsi can button.
Basically like a lockdown
Mhm.
scenario.
Yeah.
Well, we've,
I don't know how much that stuff is. I mean, Paul would be good to ask.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of a ballpark, Mike, on what's gonna cost to do John Brown?
To do,
Sign
I would wager to say that you're gonna be pretty close to what Athol came in at, if I had to guess.
And Apple was 700,000.
Yeah, probably pretty close to that.
5,
Seven.
7?
And I'm just basing that off of the, you know, the total square footage of each building. They're pretty close. I would
Well,
say
going
something
back
like
to
that.
the safety of the district
Yeah.
office, we've talked about the fact that we need lighting out there along with cameras.
We don't have it.
Due
Yeah, we've had a lot of
to
Correct.
incidences we've had out there, so we need
Correct.
that as well, and I don't know what that would cost.
Would you put an extra
Something like that.
5?
A little bit. It'd be a little bit. It'd be some paint and prep, but it wouldn't be the cost to do siding and stuff. So yeah.
The cameras are maybe $1,000, maybe.
Well, it depends on which camera you get.
Right, but the even the multi-lens ones, like.
Multi-lens ones are like 1,000, the singular camera
Right.
are like 200 or something, or
If we put
it's
a,
not-
if we
yeah.
put a multi-lens one, we could get away with just one.
Would you do
It
one on
wouldn't-
the front, one on the back?
Well, I would think you could, I mean, this is Paul's expertise, but I think you could do one on this side and then you get all the John Brown parking lot, because sometimes people do have to park, and then you might want then one facing this. Paul would have to determine where you put that, if it could stretch all, I just don't know, that would be a Paul question, but sometimes in front of our, like, at our high schools, I mean, we only have one and it gets the whole scope, so that's a Paul question,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but.
And maybe one out in the back, cause Jessica's, windshield was shattered, somebody threw a rock at it, while she was parked out here. So, yeah, we've just had some vandalism that we've never had before, so if we had a way to track down who that was, that would be great. And then Michelle brings up a really good point, when we're here, like for board meetings now, or policy, you guys are getting a lot of people. There aren't a lot of parking places here in front of the district office, so people are having to park over in the John Brown area. There's just
No
not a
light.
lot of light out here, so it's
Mhm.
not, people don't feel safe, especially in the wintertime when we're leaving, and it's really dark out.
Right.
What would it cost
Midnight.
us to put some light?
We could throw some more fixtures on the building.
If we did cameras, the security system, and then some additional lighting, would 25,000 be sufficient?
I can speak to the lighting. Lighting would be nominal to put some bright lighting on the outside of that building to light that parking lot up. That's totally reasonable.
I don't even
I
think
can't.
it
I
would be
mean,
that
it
much.
wouldn't. I mean, that would be something that could be worked into our annual. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be. That would be like a day-to-day cost for me. We do it.
Not anything special.
Yeah, we do it.
Yeah.
That would
I
be.
think the cost would be the interior, the door and the button,
Mm,
and then
yeah.
the camera's gonna be the pricey part, but it would
Well,
just
we already
be.
have the key card access out there.
Right. It's the button.
Yeah, we don't have the doorbell.
Do they just utilize the John Brown parking lot, or do they utilize the Cougar Gardens parking lot too, when it's really busy?
Both.
Both.
Is that the one that's across the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, I park there all the time
Okay.
because
Okay.
when we have packed meetings, I end up having to park over there.
Would lighting that was put on the building shine bright enough into that parking lot?
That's pretty far.
That's what I
Yeah,
was
that's
Isn't
pretty
there
far. I
a
don't
light
know.
fixture there though?
I can't remember now. There might be.
I thought there
Oh.
was.
There is lighting out there, but I
Yeah.
don't know who manages the lighting, if it's just like the
Yeah.
community pool that Vista puts there,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, I'll look at that too, because I can also, Vista's really good to work with. I had them put a light fixture on Main Street and had them flip it into the bus yard.
Oh, that's the other
Yeah,
thing.
so I'll check it out and see.
Cameras in the bus yard. We don't have any there.
Still, I thought we said to do that.
Oh, that's right, we ordered them. Paul's still working on putting the cameras in.
You
You're
mean
right.
the ones that are there right now at work? They're fake?
Right, I know, so we had them.
We bought
ordered,
fake cameras.
No, we didn't.
No.
We did not.
I'm not, this district bought fake cameras.
I don't know where they came from. I don't know who
Okay.
purchased them.
We
but
didn't.
I'm
bought real
not saying
ones.
that we recently purchased fake cameras. I
No, it
just-
definitely was not recent.
That's a waste of money, big time.
Yeah, definitely not recent.
But you're right, I forgot. We did order them. Paul's been
Okay.
working his way through the installation of more the door thingies on the schools, the buzzing card
Mhm.
things, and cameras. So.
Do you have a good feel for how much set aside there needs to be for emergency type facilities?
I don't know, I asked Jessica today if she could, what was budgeted just for, day-to-day maintenance?
So total in the general fund, and this includes, some of the contracted services, including snow plow and stuff, it's 603,000, in the general fund for maintenance, related items.
But
That includes grounds as well.
So we've paid about, last year I think we paid $225 for plowing.
Yes, and it was budgeted at 140 this year.
Okay, but what I'm referring to is if.
For emergencies.
If we blow up a boiler, that's gonna be a plant facility cost.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, how much on an annual basis do we need to reserve to cover those kind of emergencies?
Do you have a sense of that?
Well, a boiler, depending on which boiler, you're upwards of 50 to 70,000. Luckily, we've made some pretty good progress in that department. We have a new boiler at Lakeland or Timberlake Middle, Timberlake High School, which is good. And we do annual service on those from a contractor to ensure that everything is as it should. But that's roughly what you're looking to spend if one goes down and we have to replace it, 50 to 70,000.
But that's one kind of thing. I mean, there are other kinds of
Right, there's,
emergencies,
Yep.
equipment situations
Right.
that come along.
Right.
So, I mean, do we set aside 100 grand or 200 grand or, you know, what? We gotta have a feel for that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think if we're gonna set a certain amount aside, at least 100,000 would be my comfort zone, maybe even a little bit more. I just don't know what.
125?
Huh?
125?
125? Oh, are we negotiating?
150,
I
yeah.
Okay.
know.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
keeping
120.
track of it.
Right.
Keeping
Yeah,
it
yeah, I would
all.
think certainly 100,000 minimum would be my comfort
One of
level.
the issues I think we're having a little bit is, Mike's the director of facilities, but never was given any ownership
Mhm.
over a budget and had absolutely no idea how much he had to work with. So we are rectifying that, and he will be responsible for his budget. So when you're asking these questions, all of that information is in Brian's head, but we don't know it.
That's another reason why it's
issues
hard
we had.
hard for me to come up with a long-range strategic plan, because I'm going blind, into it blind. I have no idea what I have to work with. I can come up and say, yeah, in 5 years we're gonna do this, but I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not, you know, so anyway, we're fixing that, but it's gonna take a little time, I think, to.
So to be safe, maybe, if you're feeling like 100,000 is sufficient, maybe we say 150 just to see.
100, yeah, 100 minimum would be my.
So Mike, did you not, I mean, I know you had to go to Brian when you needed something or for repairs or for purchases or
Right.
whatnot. Were you not ever like given access to what all you ordered for the whole year? I
Mm-mm.
mean.
I
what
couldn't,
it
basically,
stood?
I can't, and I still can't speak to any of the financials for my department.
Okay.
I don't know, I just simply would ask, hey, we need to do this broke, or I'd like to do this, and it would be a yes or no.
Okay.
That's where it ended for me. Yeah, it's a
Je-
bizarre scenario.
Yeah, Jessica. when-
But-
That's gonna be fixed.
No, I totally get that, but I mean, are you finding with whatever you're reviewing or going through in acclimating yourself with that environment, where Brian kept that information, or are you serious?
That's why we could never get anything on paper.
So it's all a work in progress, which is why we thought, let's do a board workshop and talk
Mhm.
about facilities and get a sense of what you are wanting to accomplish, what we feel like we need to accomplish.
I think it's
right
important
now.
for everybody to be on the same page, for sure.
And then
And
Mike
then-
could start doing
then
a 1 year,
Jessica's-
3 year, 5 year with projections with money.
Right, and then Jessica can set up his budget so he knows what he has to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't wanna have her set up a budget till we knew what your priorities were.
Well, and it would be good to know what has been spent the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was asking
That's-
about.
yeah.
track record.
Some kind of trend to see.
On the other hand, looking forward on an annual basis, what we're suggesting is that every year we're gonna set aside $100,000 for emergency situations, we're gonna set aside $100,000 for equipment in schools. So if you start with 1.1, now you're down to 900 before you even talk about any projects every year. And then you go from there. Now that might change as time goes on, but that's kind of the scenario that we're in right now, it looks like. So what are we up to for this year?
So with the fence project, the carpet abatement, building budgets of $100,000 for furniture and equipment. I put the district office security at $20,000.
At 20.
Yeah, that would be the interior, security, exterior, and then if you need some assistance with the lighting, if it can't come out of your normal, hopefully there'll be a little bit left for that. $700,000 for the John Brown siding, and then $100,000 in emergency repairs. That leaves us $108,000 to work with.
I thought the 70,000
$70,000 was the first one.
was the fencing. And then what was the John Brown?
700,000.
That's.
But that's a guess.
That's a guesstimate based on.
Based on what's
Based-
right.
Ethel?
Right.
Spirit Lake wasn't that far off. Spirit Lake was 675. Athol 700.
Or we could use that 700,000 and look at Garwood, Betty Kiefer, maybe the doors that need to be replaced at Lakeland High School, because that is a huge safety concern. And put John Brown off a year, because we know John Brown isn't gonna get done next summer anyway, because they're doing Spirit Lake and Athol.
Are we assuming that they can't handle 3 schools?
Oh, yes, we are. Yes, I was, because we didn't do 3 schools this year, but I think that was.
Yeah, but I've never been totally satisfied with the response we got on it as to why that happened.
I don't remember what the response was. Was it it was too late?
No,
Or-
they said something about they weren't quite sure as they started to pull things apart what they were gonna find,
Right.
and so they wanted to focus on one building and make sure
Right.
they got it done
Okay,
properly
I remember that
right,
now.
and that we were
Okay.
happy with it,
Yeah.
and then they would have a better idea of what the other 2 buildings were gonna look like as they started pulling things away. Was
And again,
what
you
I
know,
remember.
moving forward, I mean, we if we decide we want to do John Brown, it has to go out to bid again. We don't know who would get the bid.
Right.
So, you know, Emmerich was the only one who bid this last go around, but it doesn't mean they're going to be the only one when we get to that point.
Wasn't there the supplies too? They were having a hard time with supplies, so they were gonna stage them.
No, they actually bought all of the
They,
supplies.
Yeah,
so
they
that
bought the
it
supplies
was
and we're
being
gonna-
stored,
yeah.
so that we got this year's pricing.
Warehousing for us, so
Not
we
what-
didn't have to get dinged for inflation next year.
Right.
Yeah.
How much would painting the exteriors of the 2 schools be?
I don't know. I couldn't even rattle something off the top of my head. I don't know. I'd have to get a current price on that. It wouldn't be the same as it would be decided.
Part of, it's not, I get the exterior, but like Spirit Lake, Athol, and John Brown both, their heating and ventilation systems are wretched. So that to me,
Those are those interior systems that are driving Mike crazy.
That was my question. So like in my opinion, when we do a project like the exterior, like we're doing, that's the start of a building renovation. We've chose to go outside, but we need to go inside at some
Correct.
point too.
Correct.
And that's kind of what getting on the same page, with you guys and finding out what you would like to do, because that's what I want to do. I want to go inside. This school is going to be great on the outside, and you're going to go in, and it's going to be like a time warp.
right,
Right. So yeah, absolutely. Get into the interior. Just do we? And you don't have to take my advice on that, but do we do the exteriors of the buildings first and then go inside, or do we bounce around?
That's what I heard you say to start with, is stay with the system that we're on.
Correct. And so that's just my feeling on it. You guys were liable to say, no, we don't want to do that. We'd like to go inside now and then come back outside. My brain works just by a systematic means. I just would rather do all the outside stuff and then go inside and continue
Then
on.
you've got things
But-
on a rotation and like
Yeah.
everything.
Right, but you're 100% right. I mean, our HVAC systems in those old schools, I mean, there's no fresh air. They need a major renovation. So
That's gonna be
it's,
a lot more than $1 million.
it'll get pricey. But it's just, I guess, how do we get to that point? Do we just, like I said, stick with what we've already, down the road we've already started, which we might as well.
Oh,
You
So
know?
you're talking HVAC stuff, yeah, you're talking big time dollars, particularly
Yeah.
on a school, but particularly this one over here. I mean,
Yeah.
it would be a horrendous undertaking to do fresh air intake for the whole part
Yeah.
of the building.
Yeah, it would need to be engineered. You guys ought to see how we do pretty dang good. My little crew over there with the hodgepodge of systems we have in these buildings, keeping them running. I mean, it's pretty amazing, but they're just outdated. I mean, they wouldn't be even close
The
to.
HVAC over here is the same, right?
Yep. So.
You know, those are, that's a kind of an add-on that you could do as a part of a bond issue. To make sure that this school's getting something and that school's getting something, and that school over there's getting something.
Yep.
You know, that's the way I look at that. I mean, that would be the time to go in and do those kind of interior renovations, which are significant, major in some circumstances.
Right.
But we have the capacity to move forward with this outside work right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I like your idea, just stay with it and keep moving.
The other thing I forgot to mention, sorry,
Oh, good.
is, and it will be on the board agenda for us to discuss on Monday, but the state pulled back ESSER dollars from school districts that have not used their ESSER dollars, and they are reallocating those. And so, and I sent you all a text letting you know that we were going, I submitted the request to be part of that. You'll have to take action on whether or not you want to actually accept those if we were to get them, but it could be $1 million. And we could then do what we have done with the current ESSER dollars and use those to pay for personnel costs or other things that fit within the guidelines that we've already budgeted for, and then take those budgeted dollars and move them over to your capital projects, which would give us another $1 million to use to take care of some of these
Right.
issues in our buildings. So. We haven't heard yet from them about those either.
There was no timeline given either on when we potentially would hear on that.
There was only a timeline on deadline to get that request in.
Yeah, I think they were looking to see how many districts are interested, so they know how to divvy these dollars up, but.
Although with as weekly passing as it was for the levies, I don't think if we do not make a good faith effort with the public to show them the intention of what we're going to do with each building, I mean, and I agree with the systems approach, but that's all fine and dandy, but when are we getting to the inside? And, 2 to 3 years down the road, what possibly inflated price are we paying at that point? Giving them that kind of a picture is much better than saying, we're gonna get to it, because we've been getting to it for the last 10 years, and we still have never gotten there.
Right.
Because something else blows up and then we go, we're in this direction. So it really bothers me because parents are complaining about the environment their kids are supposed to be learning in, and we don't do anything about it. And so that is just a personal frustration, and I realize it's all limited by the monies we do have. But I desperately think we need interior work as much as exterior work, but I think that has to be just as much of a priority. It has to.
Yeah, the issue for like the HVAC is that it's going to be a lot more than the $1.146 million for one school. But I think what we can do is we can work on our 1-year plan, our 3-year plan, our 5-year plan, our 10-year plan, so that we can show the patrons these are we've replaced all of the roofs, we've tackled all of the exteriors. These are things that need to be done. This is what it costs. This is what we're currently collecting from plant facility levies, so they can see. I think that's the part of it. And what can we do on the inside with the money that we do get from our patrons for plant facility? But but we're gonna have to paint the picture for why there would be a need, for a bond. I agree with you. I'm not chomping at the bit to have to go out and ask for a bond measure because we barely passed this last time. But it is our reality.
It is,
The bond,
and
there's gonna have to be a bond at some point in time.
we need
We
one,
need
if
another
not two more
school.
schools.
Right.
And then adding all of this additional into it is fine and dandy, but that just makes that a much larger hurdle to
Mhm.
overcome in getting everybody to buy into the fact that we need more money from them.
I mean, doing the exteriors like we're doing is huge, from a community standpoint.
Yes.
You know, the money we've invested in roofs, you know, upwards of, I mean, just shy of $5 million, you can drive by and go, I don't see anything. You know, so the siding is great, and it's, as far as the district is concerned, I mean, I can't think of a time when
Curb appeal.
we've done this type of a project on this scale. And so to your point, I mean, from the patrons, I mean, we're getting into it now.
Yeah.
Right,
You
and
know,
they get to watch it happen.
But like, I feel your pain every single day I go to work. You know, it's like I look at that going, okay, when can we fix this?
Yeah,
You know?
is it lipstick on a pig, or we just
right? You know, and
making it
so
look pretty?
I mean, my brain is, let's do it next week.
Right,
I wanted to jump in 100%. I don't, you know, that's outside of my realm of when it comes to the money part of it, to be able to give any input on timeline. But I want to do it
Win the
as soon as we
lottery and
can.
have somebody donate
Yeah, that.
$5 million.
Yep, but I really do think that was a good move doing the exteriors and stuff, because like I said, it's gonna be a quick, you drive by and go, that building looked like that for 40 years, look at it now. You know, I mean, it's gonna be a little bit of a win.
I
You
agree.
know, but we do need to keep the momentum going. It's just how we get there, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of money. We're getting the interior, we're talking a different ball game here a little bit, so. But we have to have some sort of a plan.
We did get good news, on, Garwood from Panhandle Health, and we can add onto that building and not add to the septic system, because when you put the septic system in, it was huge and, had all the bells and whistles in 1990 that they would require now. And so they just said we couldn't have done it any better, but we could add on. I mean, you could run a small bond instead of running a bond for a new building, and add on to Twin Lakes Elementary, Garwood Elementary, Betty Kiefer Elementary, rezone our district, and save us a few years of having to go out and buy a new building, which costs us a lot more money. And you could do some of these smaller, add some of those, the HVAC systems and those kinds of things, and ask for less money from the patrons.
However, if we do not get an elementary over there, Coeur d'Alene is going to continue to
Yep.
encroach on our land.
Yep.
Yeah,
And we
that's
need
true.
to have the ability to say, no, we can provide a school right here, so stop taking our land.
Yep, that's true, that's a good point.
I mean, unless the intention is to just keep going away,
No.
so.
No, I don't wanna give,
Yeah, no,
I
it's-
don't wanna give our property away and our kids.
Just let them have it.
That's what we did the last time. Why not do it again?
All
So,
of
but
it.
there are options, I guess we just are gonna need to take a look at, but there's gonna have to be a lot of work building trust with the community, and part of
Correct.
that is financial transparency, which Jessica is going to help us
Right.
greatly
That's a
with.
big piece of it, but Mike is right on target when he talks about the fact that what we're doing to these buildings will be visually apparent to every person who drives by. Many of those people don't have kids in school, but they pay taxes.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff
They
that
will
matters.
see their money.
Yeah, because you can't see the new HVAC system from the outside, you
No.
can't see new carpet from the outside, you can't see the roof. And so it will help us, with the community to feel like we're taking care of our buildings.
Right.
But in addition to that, I think they need to feel good about how we're spending our money, be able to look at our budget and understand it. Jessica is going to help us a lot.
we can see it.
Well, and one of the things we're doing with the building administrators is changing the way they think because of how, it was done. She has, everything is in its own fund, so, for example, with athletics, we have state travel separate from yellow bus travel, so that we have those dollars allocated so that we can see if we've correctly allocated the right amount of money. And so, at the building levels, they have their supplies, instructional supplies budget, and then they have their office supplies budget and their postage. And so Jessica told them, if we only allocated $700 in postage, because we don't really mail a whole lot anymore, and you're gonna go over, instead of buying stamps from instructional supplies, I need you to buy it from postage, so at the end of the year we can see.
Yes,
That's how it should have been.
That's not.
yes, yes.
They were moving money all over the place. So that's why it's been so challenging for us to get a handle on the budget. And at one point Bob said to me when we were talking, Lisa, the superintendent needs to know the budget inside and out. I'm like, I'm trying, but it's all up here for him and I can't see it. So she's been really good at setting that up so that we can track and make sure we're allocating the money we need to allocate, to make sure that the programs are happening in the schools.
Right.
We've separated co-curricular out as well, so that you can see co-curricular travel versus athletic travel.
Okay.
So it's very transparent.
So it should help you guys be able to have a better sense of how we're spending money.
Well, and it will help the public to
Yeah,
be able
that's-
to see that what we're saying is actually what's occurring, as opposed to, try and weed through everything to figure it out. And if you don't ask the question in the proper words, then you're not gonna get an answer.
Right.
So based on the couple things that we talked about, we have 108,000 if we move forward with the items that we've already discussed.
Well, all your money
That
won't
needs
come
to
in
sit.
during the fiscal year, so there's your answer.
Right.
But we could start the bid process for if John Brown's the next big ticket item that we're gonna tackle.
I would like to have a question asked of these guys, if they can handle 3 buildings next summer.
Yeah.
Okay, I can ask them.
Cause we could put that 700,000 to use on some interior stuff too. If they can't do
Mhm.
3 buildings in a year, then that money could go towards doing some
Could go all
interior
over on interior.
stuff.
Mhm, sure.
And start picking away at that as well.
Mhm.
Especially, the ones that we're getting complaints or comments from parents and students.
I know one of the
and
complaints.
staff too, just,
One of the complaints we got recently was from Spirit Lake mom who was irritated because we don't have air conditioning in the building.
Yeah, I think we have to be a little careful with that kind of stuff.
Right.
You got people coming in here from Southern California and here and there and everywhere who went to this big fancy school that, probably cost $35 million. And we've had kids going to school here for years, getting a damn good education
without AC.
without air conditioning.
Well, and it really only gets hot a couple weeks at the beginning of the
I
school
don't
year and
have
a
a
couple
lot
weeks
of
at the end
patience
of
with
the
that
school
kind
year.
of stuff.
So, and it would be millions of dollars to retrofit a building for
Yeah.
air
No,
conditioning.
I'm more worried
That's one
about
of those
heat
things
for
that
the
would be-
kids
it
in
would
the
be nice
winter.
to have.
Yeah,
Right.
because
Yeah.
some of those kids
Yeah.
have been in freezing classrooms in their
Yeah.
You're probably
Exactly.
not
winter
gonna-
guard
Yes.
because the heating system isn't working, so
Yeah.
it's kind of a twofold
Yeah, you're probably not gonna have to
problem.
cancel
Yeah.
school because the AC's off, or not working. You will if the heat's not working.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Yep. So those boilers and
mhm. That's why
those
I've
systems are-
focused on that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we never had an annual, preventative program in place with the boilers. And boilers are a specialized branch of the HVAC world, right? There's not a lot of good boiler guys out there. And I'm like, we've never had an annual service done on these boilers? Well, that has to change,
Your
Mhm.
orders are inspected every year.
Yeah. And so, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. We need to, like, this could cripple a school like this, you know? A lot of things.
It has.
The septic systems and things like that too.
Mhm.
We pump it whenever there's a problem. I'm like, no, let's pump it before there's a problem.
What
you
schools
know?
are on septic?
Athol and Garwood. And we have lift stations. That's another, I mean, I'm going on into the weeds here, but it's all monitored now. It's all being taken care of on a monthly basis.
Is
so
it
that we
Twin
don't
on
have.
septic as well?
Twin is on, it has a lift station. So I've got lift stations at, actually lift station at Garwood, Twin, and then Lakeland High School, a portion of it is on a lift station. And those are a specialized system with big pumps and things like that. They were never monitored or never, like, well, when it breaks, we'll fix it. Well, meanwhile, you've got sewage backing up, right?
Yeah,
So
I might know
made-
a guy that does a little bit of work on
yeah.
sewers.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
no, he won't. He's got enough city stuff to do.
If you want to do a little moonlighting, yeah.
No.
Anyway, so that's the stuff that I focus
No.
on because it can be bad. So
Okay, so Mike's gonna reach out to Emmerich to see if they can handle 3 schools next summer, and if so, but we'd have to go to bid, they'd have to bid
Mhm.
that project. If they can't, I mean, if they can't, you have to go to bid anyway, you could open it and see if another company wants to come in and take care of John Brown. Or, so we could, I guess, check with Emmerich first and then bring that to the board, and then if they say no, we can't, then you would have to make a decision about whether you wanted to go out to bid to do John Brown exterior, or if you wanted to start to focus on some of the interior things.
Also, what did we find out about, kind of threw around the idea, it had to do with transportation and
Oh, shoot.
housing some buses up in Spirit Lake.
We have to buy buses.
Yeah.
What?
We have to buy buses every year.
Yeah.
Jessica wants 4. I don't know if we can
Not
afford.
You're not my favorite
Not,
anymore.
No, not that
The other
Jessica.
Jessica. But we do have, it doesn't all have to come out of plant facility, because we do have the bus depreciation money from the state that we can use to buy buses. They're about 125,000 a piece.
Do you have that bus depreciation schedule?
We were gonna reach out to, did you get that from her? So.
We need to see that.
Yep. We thought about that, we were talking today through this meeting, and, we just wanna see how many buses do we have in our fleet? I couldn't answer that question right now. And how old
How
are they?
old are they? What's the mileage on each bus?
Yep.
We need to see that, as part of the bus depreciation schedule.
Yeah, we should be seeing that. And what did you
So, we attempted to get that, but we didn't get it.
And if we're gonna buy buses, do we know at this, we know at this point what our, bus depreciation allowance is from the state. What is that?
Do you know how much we're getting from the state for bus depreciation?
Will it buy one bus?
If I remember correctly, it is.
The problem
Close,
with
but-
the state system is the depreciation is based on what you paid for the bus 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
New buses today, are 30, 40, 50, 60% more than what they were 10 years ago. So depreciation never pays for a new bus.
Right.
We're looking at, we had budgeted, 160,000 in state revenue. There is a surplus balance in there, so we're looking at spending 350 out of there, to have a roll forward balance in FY 25. That sounds weird. FY 25 of 182,000. So, 350,000, 125 a bus. That's 2 buses.
That's 2.
2.5
Well,
buses.
if we just put 25,000 from plant facility toward buses, you could get 3 buses.
Yeah.
Instead of the 4 that she's requesting. So but we will bring to the August board meeting the bus depreciation.
We
Yeah,
have
I'd
to
like
have
to see
that
how
in
and
mind.
why for,
I mean,
like
Jessica
what
could say I
determines
need to
for.
buy 4 buses, but until we see the why, she's not
Mhm.
gonna buy 4 buses.
Right.
That's all there's to it.
Yep.
Back to what Randy brought up, we had discussed about putting a bus barn north, or at least an
bus yard.
area, yeah, a bus yard, allocated for buses so that we're not constantly
Driving
doing
back and
this.
forth?
Have we looked at that at all?
No, we have not.
Okay.
Where they
So
want-
are you wanting to put it on that 10 acres, like Silver Meadows area? Is that what-
No, it should be in Spirit Lake.
Do we,
When Jessica was concerned.
I haven't gotten back up there to look at that, but, you know, we had a compound arranged there at one time. And I'm not sure what's
at
happened.
Timberlake High School, Timberlake Middle School, that's what I remembered, okay.
When you go in off of 10th Street.
Off of
the-
10th,
the
yeah,
prop-
on
land to the right.
Tiger
Once you get
Drive.
into our property, the land to the right was to be the bus compound. I don't know if that's all part of the junior high now or what they.
So
call it.
east
The soccer
of
field.
Timberlake Middle School,
Yes.
that area right there?
Yes.
Okay. So, we probably need to get a bid, we would just need fencing.
Essentially, it would be fencing to start with, this last one here.
We wouldn't need a building, just fencing for the buses.
How many buses are they wanting to keep up there? And, I mean,
It would
It
be
depends on how many routes are up
Gotcha.
there.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it would probably be close to half of however many are running. So if we
Right.
have 35 buses running, it'd be about 17, cause you've got the middle school, the high school, and then Athol and Spirit Lake
Mhm.
Elementaries.
There's that state yard up there, I wonder if they've got some space that we could park in there, cause it's a fenced
Hmm?
yard.
Yeah.
Where's that?
On the highway, just north of the school.
Who
Would be the
owns
state.
this, state of Idaho?
Mhm.
So do you know who we would contact for that? Like
Probably-
Idaho?
It was ITD.
ITD.
It is
yeah.
ITD, okay.
And long term, they're wanting a structure built too?
That was the
That's-
original plan, the original plan was to have a fenced compound.
Okay,
So we could overnight buses there, or they could be stored there during the day, either one.
gotcha.
But eventually there would be a satellite bus garage there.
Okay,
Which would be ideal if we ever had an emergency and we had to
Mhm.
evacuate kids.
sure,
It'd be a
yeah,
lot faster
Be a
than them
lot
having
faster.
to get up there.
absolutely, yeah.
Even if we were able to just leave the
Mhm.
buses there during the day,
Right.
it would help immensely with that.
But that's, you know, the building part of that is probably one of those add-ons to the long election kind of thing.
But in the short term, just putting a fence up would get us out of a little bit of a
At least part
pickle.
of the fence is there.
It also would alleviate some of the stress at the end of the day with buses trying to get out to get
Mm.
to their routes.
Mhm.
And if they park them in the morning up there, like they could stay there all the time, right? And not have to come down to this
To me,
bus
that
yard.
would be
That-
the logical.
Ideally, yeah.
The only reason
not-
they would come down here is if they needed an oil change, or I don't know,
Some
going
kind
for
of
fuel, but they
main-
could buy fuel up there.
Any kind of
Mhm.
maintenance or.
Okay. Cause that would actually help with
Just
just
thinking fuel, card lock.
the traffic jams in the
Oh,
morning
yeah,
and
for
after
sure.
school, and after school.
You know, I don't know how many routes are running out of those schools up there, but let's say there's a half dozen, buses that could stay there during the day. Five of those drivers would all get on another bus, and one bus would bring them back down to here, you
Mhm.
know, for checkout, but then check in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
whatever fencing structure we have here at the bus barn, I think would be adequate for
mhm.
whatever we can do up there.
So the ITD yard is on
Going to
Highway
add
54.
Cameras and all of that
It's on
stuff.
Highway
Yeah.
54.
And power, you'd have to have
Is
power to
that-
plug them
No,
in
it's on
too.
Right.
41. It's on 41, north of this, it's a couple blocks north of the school.
Yeah, it's just a little ways apart.
Mhm.
North of Spirit Lake Elementary?
That would have.
No.
North of the junior high.
The power and all
So
that stuff,
before
yeah.
you get to
Just the
Spirit
other
Lake?
side
Yeah,
of
then we can just throw a fence up to
Yeah.
get to it than that.
So insert.
Yep.
We can also then, can you, I'll put it on here, but, we could call Coeur d'Alene Fencing and have them, or is it Coeur d'Alene Fencing?
Idaho
Idaho
fence.
fence.
Idaho Fence. and just ask for a quote
Mhm.
to kind of get an idea of what it would cost.
But
If it's
remember,
gonna be
we'd
more
have-
than 50,000, we'd have to put it out to bid, but.
We'd have to add cameras and we'd have to add electricity. They'd have to be able to plug the buses in.
Well, and if we do it on our property, there's already electricity there, they just have to pull it over.
If we are gonna do that, we're gonna have to put stuff out to bid anyway for the fence project for all the other schools, so we could just include that in the fence project bid.
That's part of it.
Okay, so town
You're so
item
smart, we'll
events
keep you. Okay.
for vote. More this year. Okay. We will get on that and bring that to you.
I know it's small kind of thing, but you're talking about furniture and stuff like desk. If you could have somebody looking at the desk every week or so, then you could get them before they're wrecked and get them fixed the right way before they're cutting kids and stuff. Cause you know the junior high teachers call them shanks. Have you heard that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, because they cut so many kids, so they call them shanks. They put them out in the hall.
We just need to get rid of them.
Yeah, but if they would look at
Preventative.
them, preventive maintenance on them, because there's a sticker on them that says you're supposed to do some preventive maintenance on them, or inspection.
Yeah.
Every periodic inspection. If they would do it, then they would get ahead of if there's a crack or something, get it fixed the right way, not just, oh, there's a piece missing, let's keep using it, and it gets worse and worse, and then our kid gets hurt, you know.
Yeah, so we could, because our head custodians and principals do their monthly building
Right.
safety
We could add a line
report.
item
We
to
could
that.
add a line item to that.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't expect that the custodian's going to look at every single desk, but we could ask the principals to
Have
have the teachers
the-
do it by
yeah.
the last Friday of the month
Right,
or whatever, and then
right.
submit a report.
Yeah, on that scale, it would, strengthen numbers for sure. It'd be a lot to put on it.
One person.
Right.
Yeah, especially in a school like Lakeland.
Yeah, well,
It's
that's,
only one
that's
person.
easy to do. We can add a line item to the current monthly.
Okay.
Just like to make one compliment, at this stage, the grounds look pretty darn good. And that's one of those important things to keep in mind, because again, that's people driving by, we're
Mhm.
seeing whether the lawn is green or brown.
Yeah.
Whether the weeds are growing up or they're not, all that kind of stuff. People do take note.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'll pass it along to the crew. I have a soft spot. Yeah, that's where I started my career, was grounds for the district, and you're 100% right. People don't even live here, drive by, and I do it all the time when I'm out traveling. I'll go by a school and look at it, go, God, look at those weeds, or look at that. We do pretty dang good, I think, with the staff I have, and so they'll get a kick out of that. I'll relate, and I appreciate it. It's a tall order.
This junior high football field looks as good as I've ever seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
If only we could have the track usable without the rocks.
Why is that not usable?
Cause you got the big rocks and the kids tripping and twisting
So we
ankle.
get some gravel and put it on there. We could get a
That's been on,
tractor.
that's been on Carrie's
Smooth it
list
out.
for a while, is the track.
Oh, by the way, what's the status of our high school track project?
That's a good question. You think that I'd be in the loop on that, wouldn't you?
So I do know the gentleman from
Um,
Meridian came out and looked at it, and they are on track to have it done by August.
Okay, yeah, that project didn't cross my my hot sheets. It was done with Brian and Matt Neff. So
I've talked to both Matt and Jimmy in the last
Yeah.
week about it, because
Yeah,
I'm
you
concerned.
should be in the loop on that, though.
well,
I don't disagree,
think so,
but he
but-
should be.
Okay, so why are we not
Facilities.
making that happen? Cause I'm sure there's gonna be potentially other lingering outliers. So when we find that you're not in the loop with a facility maintenance issue such as the track, why are we not saying, okay, we need to put Mike in the loop? on
I
that?
wasn't aware he wasn't
That's
in
a-
the
Okay.
loop.
That's a good question. It's been going on for years, so
I was-
don't feel bad. I mean, I've almost in a sense kind of given up
Well,
on it. I
bad
feel,
for you.
Yeah.
right, I
You
feel.
cannot give up on that.
Well, I mean, my simple mind's like, if I'm supposed to be in the loop, they'll let me know, because I got tired of going, like you just said, why are they not coming to the guy that can help them, right?
Correct.
And it's so rampant. I don't know.
Now you're
I don't want to
responsible
say.
for everything.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Well, do you
Well,
think
I'm at the end of the day, when it goes wrong, they're going to come for me, and I'm going to go. I don't know what.
We are
you
putting
know.
systems in place so
Yeah.
that anytime there's any request, that our first check is, have you checked in with Mike? And so but we're trying to nip that in the bud, so it all funnels through him. So he has to essentially give the okay before we are even talking about allocations or anything.
And to be
So
perfectly
that's
honest
the
with you,
goal.
I have so much stuff flying at me, like 24/7, that I'm like, I just go on to the next thing. You know, I mean, it's not the right way, but I can't dwell on it. I have too many things going.
And it's not a
you know?
matter of having you dwell on it, it's a matter of, straightening out
Right.
the line.
Right.
Because it's going
Yeah,
like this, and
yeah.
it has gone that way for quite some
The
time.
only
Yeah.
reason I'm in the loop is because I was trying to close POs. So.
Good for
It's getting
you.
done.
But, I mean.
Matt Neff he is running with
He's-
it. He is doing good with it. He's taking it like, you
Well,
know,
and I think
and I'm
that's another-
comfortable, but
I
yeah.
think that's another thing, is just making sure that ADs are fully aware that
Yeah.
Mike needs to be in the
Yeah.
loop when it
It's
has
just
anything
all
to
the
do
players
with,
knowing.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody
Yeah.
involved is in the know. But to that point,
And Mike should be
and I don't
the
know how we
person.
do this, but, I mean, he has been advocating for a couple of years now about looking at hiring plumbers, electricians, and so how do we, like, what's our first step of looking at moving in that direction? Cause I feel like we've talked about it, it's come up, I don't necessarily know if it's come up to you guys, but it's definitely come up at our level.
No, it's not been.
And
brought
so,
forward.
and Mike has brought it up, so what's our next step in moving in that direction?
Well, I
Do
would,
it. Just do it.
Are you giving me permission to use fund balance?
See, yeah, it has to come from, the money has to come from
I-
somewhere.
I-
Or
what I-
we either have
what I
to
would
take from
say-
somewhere or.
What I would suggest
It's
is
like we talked
do a
about
little
earlier,
bit.
if you hire people in-house who can do the kinds of jobs that we're currently contracting out, the
Yeah.
contracted money
We
goes
did
to the
talk about that a
salary instead of
couple
the
of months ago.
contract.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we're not
Specific to
talking
the
more money, we
grounds
should
and
be
the
talking less
spraying.
money.
Right.
right.
I would be
I
interested,
agree.
before we make
Just
the decision
knowing.
to just do it, I would be interested to know how much did we contract
Yep,
out, so
no,
we
we'll
at
take
least
care of
have an idea of whether it's
I
gonna
agree
cost
with
us.
that. All I'm saying is.
Can we bring it as a
Don't wait
topic
2 more
for
years to
August?
talk about it.
August?
Just start the thing and.
Well, that's right, and I feel like
Sure.
I know that that's been his pain, so is it something where if we can get some hard numbers relatively, like maybe the course of the last 3 years, so that you're looking at some longitudinal and historical.
Well, that'd be great if
base?
things were coded to plumbing and not supplies.
That's why I would say August is probably reasonable, cause we'll have to take the time to
So we
actually
can
look
bring
through
some
the
stuff to
expenses.
You're gonna have to look at
August or
vendors,
September, and
what vendors we
then bring
paid
it
not
back
at
up
the
and have that
line item.
Yes,
conversation,
yeah.
specific to a plumber and electrician.
This is the fun stuff.
Is
So
that,
we'll-
are you guys
we
okay
And
with
you'll
that?
should
It's
find
what I
out
love
that
about
there is a
accounting is
vendor that
that-
is a
good
name
with that?
of a man
Yeah.
that is actually supplies, cause like that's, how
Are you
can we
good with
pay
that?
John
Okay.
Wilkes
I
so
just
much
feel like
dollars?
we'll
And
talk
oh,
about
that's
it and it
just
won't come back
supplies.
up,
It's
so I
like,
just like, what's the
well,
next step?
that's a
Just tell me the
company
first step
name?
in
Well, yeah,
moving in a
like-
direction that is gonna.
Walter English.
All I know is it's a name and it's like.
Yep, it's paper supplies.
Yes.
I'd be
It's,
happy to do, might do
I think
one
we
to
need
put
to
it
do
together
the-
and have you review it.
Oh,
I think we need to
Do you
do
want
the
Chelsea
apprentice
to
thing
present it?
too,
I'm happy
Bob.
when Christine review it.
So,
I
yeah.
was talking to Lisa
Specific
about
to like the last
doing
3
an
years.
apprenticeship for a kid.
I felt you on that one.
And then
Yeah, you
they
can,
work,
you can just.
they
include
sign
me. I don't
on
know
with
if
us
they
for
bother
3 years.
Christine with it.
We
Okay.
pay for their
Yeah, just, I'm just, cause
apprenticeship.
I'm curious too, what,
And
I know
I
it's
see
just
you're
less
right.
than
It's been an
money.
outsourcing.
Electrician,
So
And it's-
I would
it's-
say all outsourcing.
We pay for it,
We
and
are
they
looking
work
for
during the
plumbing.
week,
Yeah,
and then
all
one
And
week,
mill
what is it,
electric,
like
the
2
only two
weekends a
people I
month, they
use
go to their
for plumbing
apprenticeship.
and electrical.
And then they owe us 3 years like the military
Okay,
does.
those two guys,
you
that's
know?
it.
Okay, I
Yeah.
will look into
Something
both
to
of
look
those.
into.
Some kind of progression plan.
Yeah.
What's the, this is.
But
Isn't
they-
that how
Exciting
other
project.
companies do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
It's
pay for
more
their
like-
apprentice,
Oh,
and then
oh,
they
okay,
get their
gotcha.
journeyman card, and then they owe you 3 years.
And we
Or
just
maintenance
started the
department grounds.
electrician program at K-Tech.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
So it gives them
salaries.
experience
That's just your
and a
overall
working
salary.
wage while
And
they're
then that
here.
2,000 in your local funds.
So that's
Okay.
the program.
So those are your
I don't know if we have plumbing.
That's the, those are the numbers that I've been
But we
looking.
could.
But they have
That's-
HVAC and they have
Welding.
electrical.
Out.
They have welding.
That's,
Yeah,
we
they have
do
welding.
have
We have good news on the
Report, so
building,
he
it's
gets
gonna come
that
in
every
cheaper,
week.
so I want to bring that back to
We
you.
set it up so he and Christine can get that.
on
It's on
Monday,
my-
I can
yeah.
update. And
That
this
helpful.
is just
Mhm.
the budgets, I'll get you the budget
Well, we spent all
actions.
past service money or
Okay,
just anything
all right.
else?
Nope, this was just facilities.
Just.
But if we get the reallocated ESSER dollars, there'll be more facilities money that we could
Great.
use.
Let's do it.
Then we need to just come back to the table.
And talk
Have
about
that
how you
conversation.
So-
exactly.
I
Just
think
so-
that's healthy to do this personally. I mean, being on the same page, because I get the sneaky
Exactly.
suspicion there's a disconnect.
Really?
I could just be assuming things, but I mean, well, for me there is. I mean, I think you guys.
No, we
might have
just need to
thought
know
that-
what you need.
I think even
Right.
quarterly,
Yeah.
I think,
a workshop quarterly.
yeah.
Just on facilities, so that.
Well, we
Yeah.
can touch base on where we're at.
Well, it's
too
good,
with
cause then you
projects.
can have just like, okay, where are we at with this, what's happening with
Status
this,
reports
what's
on all
happening,
the
so it's not,
projects.
exactly,
Yeah.
there's just an ongoing agenda,
Mhm.
yep.
So,
You're so smart, we'll keep
Yeah.
you.
We'll see.
do you want me to recap what we have on the list?
Wow.
Yes, please.
So on the list currently, we have the remainder of the fence project of 70,000 that doesn't include potentially fencing for a bus outpost, I'm not sure what to call that.
And also, Michelle wants
Preschool.
fencing around for the preschool.
Okay, so do you want me to add?
Do they have their, do they have a separate playground equipment?
Well, we were gonna,
No.
we had money set aside for playground equipment for the
Okay.
preschool. We hadn't purchased it yet, cause we weren't sure if it was going to Twin or if it was staying at Twin or coming to John Brown, but it's staying at Twin, so we do have that.
Okay.
And so we can go ahead and that was a.
Cause
that
there's no
was
point
a-
in having fencing on a playground
that doesn't have any
exist.
equipment, and
Yeah.
so there's a
But the
donation.
equipment they have is the
of
playground
25,000.
equipment.
So would that
It's
cover?
not their own special equipment.
Well, we
But
actually
that's
have,
what
we actually have
is in the budget.
$25,000 that was donated for preschool playground equipment, so
Okay.
we have money to buy some playground equipment
Okay.
especially
If
for our
there
little
is
people.
leftover of that, which I'm sure there won't be, but if there is, would we potentially be able to repurpose some of that for the fencing for
Mhm.
the playground equipment? Okay.
Yeah, we got to decide how we were using it, that's how we decided we were
Perfect.
using it, was the playground equipment for preschool. So,
So that 70,000 includes the fencing for bus barn?
No.
No.
No, if you add to that and then the preschool, so it would be in addition to those
You're welcome.
70 plus those two, whatever those two are. Yeah.
Have to leave you
So I don't
guys.
have that in here, but I can add a line for that. We have the SLE carpet abatement for 40,000.
48,000.
48,000. Building budgets, I'd like to advocate that I bump that up a tiny bit, just so I can have a round number for FTE purposes.
At where?
The building budgets for the furniture, we currently have it at 100,000, that's about 2141 per FTE.
She doesn't like change.
I don't like change. Can I have $22, or if it's above the 4670 enrollment, we bump it down to $21?
She wants it to be 21 or 22.
Okay. Please.
It drives her crazy.
I say
You
yeah.
want a
I say
round
yeah.
number
I do want a round
FTE,
number.
and we just want a round number.
I just want a round number.
So are we rounding up or down?
I would say down.
21, okay.
Uh-huh.
So it'll be a little bit less than 100,000. If we do $21, it'll be, based on our estimated FTE for next year, it'll be $98,070. So it's right there. I have
want
district
the
office security at $20,000, John Brown sighting at $700,000 with the
Wait,
potential.
at 20,000 for district office? I
Yes.
thought it was at 25.
I can
Cause
send
the
it back.
safety was 15, but then the cameras and everything else was another 10.
Mike indicated that he could potentially cover some of that out of
Okay.
his normal
Correct.
facility
Yeah.
Okay, so
budget,
then
so that's
drop
where I
it to
came up
5.
with
Just 20.
Okay.
700,000 for John Brown sighting, which could potentially be repurposed if they can't do the 3 buildings, or we don't think we'll get someone to do it, to do interior work instead. 100,000 for emergency repairs fund, just in case something decides to quit working. And then I had 25,000 in here for assist with bus purchase, but that's on hold until we decide, once we get the additional information on the depreciation. of
Whether or not you
mileage.
wanna do 1 bus, 3 buses, 2 buses, no buses.
And
So
then we're gonna look
buses
at-
are on hold, is what you're saying?
I'm just thought assisting with maybe,
The
we have enough to
25,000.
buy at least 2 buses out of the bus depreciation. If we wanted to purchase an additional one, it would be probably a 25,000 out of plant facilities to help purchase it out of bus depreciation to make it 3 buses.
Okay.
That leaves us roughly 83,000, not including the bus fencing, the bus outpost fencing. But I'm hoping if we put that out to bid, maybe because it's such a large amount of
We can get a
square footage,
discount.
we could get a discount.
And then we're gonna look at what we spend on outsourcing.
Yes. I have a 5-year spend on maintenance / plant facility levy, so we can see where we've spent.
And then also, yeah, for plumbing and electrical.
That'll be part of this.
Do we know what the
Yeah.
square footage needs to be for that fencing? Do I need to take Jessica up there with me and have her and I walk
Probably.
and
Do
see
you
what she
wanna do-
needs?
Do you wanna do
And how,
Timberlake?
and how many buses?
Yeah, how many routes are in and out of
Okay,
that
I'll get with her,
area?
we'll do a little field trip up there.
Do you
Or
wanna
north half
do
of-
Timberlake
Mhm.
preschool
Yeah.
as well? To see how
Yeah.
much
Twin
fencing,
Lakes.
or Twin Lakes, excuse me,
Yep.
Twin Lakes preschool to see how much fencing we would need.
No, I had gotten a bid a couple of years ago for Twin Lakes to fence in
Yeah, they were.
on the end of the
You were
primary
asked
wing.
to do it and then, it was shot down.
Was that where they wanna put, is that still the spot they wanna put it?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
You probably did it like 3 years ago.
yeah, about
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Spirit Lake.
I did my part.
Elementary. Are you talking about Spirit Lake?
No.
Twin Lakes.
Oh, Twin
The,
Yeah.
the preschool.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
fencing.
Yeah, there was
Yeah,
money
I was thinking
donated
about
for
Spirit
the
Lake,
equipment and.
Elementary, that's a tough one to fence. I mean, you can fence, but you got a street that runs through the middle of our property.
Right, which we can't
Yeah.
do anything about. We've
Because
gone
we
to the
don't own
city
it.
and
Yeah.
asked, they won't
Get
give
it
us.
vacated.
Do we know what the population is gonna be at Twin for this next year? I mean, cause I know it was brought at the beginning of the year, they were very crowded, at the beginning of this ended school year. Because of the lack of, the landlocked here and the openness of how much
Our
population is there.
Really, really smart long-range planning committee came up with a brilliant idea to help with that, which will be on the agenda Monday. But what we're talking about doing is taking 100 kids from Garwood and
Okay,
moving them
before
there.
you go down that road, my only thought is that preschool occupies 2 classrooms, or it has in the past. If it would be smarter to take and put those 2 classrooms at the landlocked school that has all the open space,
Well,
was
if-
my only question.
And we could take a look at that. Actually, I think even doing what we're planning on doing with preschool still would fit there, cause what we're gonna do, what we're gonna recommend to the board is we're taking some kids from Garwood, 100 of them roughly, and almost 75 from Twin to John Brown, which would free space up at Twin Lakes, so that if we have, the reason I'm going this direction is because you mentioned Spirit Lake might be full, but it gives us the option of shifting Spirit Lake boundaries down and moving some kids down to Twin.
It also gives you a buffer for all those houses going up by Scarcello.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so, but when we walked with Anna and looked at if we had this many classrooms to John Brown, she still had room for preschool, so we could still do that.
Okay,
Even
cause
with
I
that
realize
change.
if we're solving the problem for 1 year, the growth doesn't stop. So then we're gonna have to keep revisiting this, and then if we're investing in, the landlock isn't going to change. I mean, that school is where it's at and how it is. But I don't wanna see us make this investment for the preschool just next year, not this upcoming school year, but the year after that, go, well, we are so crowded now, we now need to move it, and we've invested money for fencing, equipment, and all that same thing.
That's partly why it was
where
held off, yeah.
If it's stabilized at a location that's not going to be influenced by anything else because it's landlocked, I think that would be the smarter choice for the investment in that program, is all I was trying to get
And
at.
we walked with Anna and went classroom by classroom to figure out what she would have room for, so we just need to go back and look.
We have a sheet that we wrote it out.
But we talked about 2 classrooms there, so, So we could definitely do that, but it is landlocked, but because of the way we redrew the, we're recommending we redraw the
Mhm.
lines, they will actually be at about between 400 and 450
Mhm.
kids, which is a better use
Mhm.
of that building, so.
And the goal
True.
is that all elementaries would be in that 350 to 425 buffer.
Mhm.
So, you know, we weren't such, it wasn't so,
We're just trying to buy
lopsided.
ourselves a little bit of time to build some trust with the community and get them to understand kind of where we are
Mhm.
with regard to our buildings before we
Right.
have to go out for a bond.
But if we have to overcrowd the classrooms because we don't have the space, because we have another program that, I mean, that's just where I don't wanna see us have to go again, cause we keep going there.
Right. So, we probably should look at, if we're talking about that, we probably should,
I feel like you can't make any of those decisions until the rezoning conversation happens, cause then we have to look at, you know, how many classrooms are we adding, cause what if it's not, I mean, that's the, I feel like that's the domino effect, once we know the rezoning, then we'll know classrooms, kids, is it 3 grade levels, a 5th grade, is it 2, I mean, and that all kind of balances out, then what does that free up at Twin and at Garwood, and then what does it take over? Because the other piece of this is then does that shuffle, you know, I mean, it's just, who are those kids and what are, so all of that, so I mean, cause we also have life skills, like does that shuffle any of that? I think it's the domino effect that we'll have to look at it all.
I was just gonna say though, Mike, when he's looking at fences, probably needs to go to John Brown also and
Yeah.
look at what that might look like.
Where that could go
Where it
and
could
where it
go.
would be.
And how much fencing
If it's
would be
feasible.
Right.
needed there. I will share this document with you for
Okay.
taking notes.
It might be worthwhile just to look at Twin and John Brown.
Mhm.
We had
Probably.
preschool.
Randy said, we're
Where are
done.
we sticking it, right?
Either.
Yeah,
But mind you, it's preschool, so it's gonna be smaller.
right.
Yeah.
Your hearing aids ringing again?
Is it?
A little bit.
Do we need
Is it your
to,
pocket?
are you gonna use,
Yeah, it's just when
do
you-
the
I think when you
abatement
get
as
your watch close
a
to
agenda
it.
item for Monday?
Yeah.
To make that decision?
I will look at the agenda and make sure it's on there.
It's not on
Okay.
there,
Okay.
but because it just came up, so.
Right.
Yeah, only reason I'm asking is because of the time sensitive nature of it.
But we
Yeah.
haven't posted it yet,
No, we haven't.
so
So,
can we put that as an action item?
What do you want?
Approve, cost for
Abatement.
at Spirit Lake Elementary. And then Mike will you send her the quote so she can link it in?
Yeah,
A light agenda for Monday night?
yep.
Yeah, it actually is.
So, make it L13.
I forwarded it to you, do you want to
Oh,
forward it
I
on
got
there?
it, yeah,
Hmm?
I'll do it.
It's always the goal, Bob.
8 o'clock?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
see.
I love you.
Always the goal.
2 hours, that's enough.
Especially after an 8-hour day at work.
I am forwarding to you right now the quote from Mike.
Perfect.
Is there anything else on this, workshop that needs to be addressed?
Not unless there's something that was on your wish list. Oh, well,
I-
one of the things,
I can give you-
can you do some checking? The one thing I am concerned about is Lakeland High School's bleachers.
The football bleachers, yeah. If they're as bad as they're describing, we probably are gonna have to get an engineer involved.
Michelle, are you okay?
Maybe we can use
Because
some
I'm
of
not-
that
have
$100,000 that we
Olivia
might, or the
had a
million
note
that
to
we
her
bring
son
in
that
for
quarterly
the
you're
lesser
gonna bring
dollars.
back a facilities workshop
I just don't want
based
not
on
do
Randy's
that.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to have somebody look at it
Olivia,
and
can
tell
we
us either
add
way.
just in your notes that quarterly, we're gonna add a facility workshop, you put it down, so that we just remember that we need to figure out when we're gonna schedule that intermittently between policy and board meetings. So sorry, Bob, it was Randy's
Board
idea.
meeting, board meeting.
Well, it will be meetings. We have to It was right, just being her, it was her idea.
It's a
Do
great
it
idea.
semi-annually instead of quarterly.
I like quarterly. If we do quarterly, it'll be short,
Mhm.
because it'll just be an update.
It'll just give you an update.
And that'll give us an opportunity to check in with, where are we with the budget? Did
And if we
did
can ever
we,
calm the board meetings
budget
down,
appropriately?
we might be able to
Yeah.
put it on there.
On a, yeah, it could be a second or
Yeah.
a board meeting.
Yeah, it
Just
could
a
just be a
report.
tag on it, yeah.
A staff report on,
But not to minimize the fact that we need to invest the time and energy.
to have the conversations, not
Exactly.
just a presentation by somebody.
Yeah, no presentation, please don't bring a PowerPoint, we don't want that. Just-
We're on the same page.
It's like, no, I'm good.
I think for a little while we're working through the budget and making sure that we've
You'll probably have a
got
handout.
things
It won't be a PowerPoint.
dialed in.
A handout.
It'll be a budget to actual.
Yeah, I think it would be.
That would
good.
be nice to
Okay.
see, that would be really nice to see.
Then they might be open to a presentation. Just kidding.
No, just so we're clear.
So before since we have a little bit of time, we've talked about, sorry, I just.
Not according to
do?
Bob.
One last thing, and you're the one who brought it up, so it's your fault. One last thing, you had asked the question about, can we save $225,000 a year by having our crews do the plowing? So I did talk to Mike. We would have to put quite a bit of money into equipment before we could do that. Like, we only have one truck in the fleet that could actually do that work, and so we would need to buy some trucks.
One truck in your entire fleet? What in the hell has been going on?
Well, I got my main fleet in the last 7 years buying a vehicle a year up to par. However, the grounds fleet now needs the same amount of attention. We have about an average of 250 to 300,000 miles on our grounds fleet. I just lost a motor out of one of the trucks that I'm not going to replace because it's just not worth it. We would need to tool up for it, and then we'd also need to talk about what your guys' vision for the department would be, because I spent 7 years building a customer service based department, and that meant contracting that off of
Right.
our plate because things come to a halt in the wintertime. I would be a plower, so I'd be out of the office, and I guess it depends on what you guys want.
Well, I don't
You know,
know.
in
I
regards
was
to
hired
that,
and
so-
I counted 9 snow plows.
Mhm. Yeah,
So if we got that much iron sitting in the yard unused,
yeah,
what is going on?
yep.
You know, I don't get that, I really don't.
Well, so what happened is 7 years ago, I was tasked with finding out how much it would cost to contract that out, because at that time, our vehicles were getting long in the tooth, and I couldn't reliably plow anymore. And so the decision was made that let's contract it out, and that's where we've been ever since. Meanwhile, my fleet, we've been limping along, taking them to the shop here and there, and just trying to keep them going. But in order to tool up to guarantee to you guys that we can plow the district confidently, I would need new trucks.
But
I mean,
you
I'm
don't need
working on that
plows,
right now.
correct?
Plows are
Iffy.
Plows are iffy. The average age of the plows up there, they look good, but they're 12 to 15 years old. So
They're
I mean,
they're iron, and, you know,
well,
I plow snow
Yep.
every winter, I know all about, in fact, I used to plow the high school a lot.
Right.
Myself,
Yeah.
as superintendent of the
Yeah.
schools.
Yeah.
So don't tell me it can't be done.
oh, I'm not
Lisa.
saying it can't. I'm not saying it can't be
I'm
done.
a friend of my little Buick
I'm not saying
Cross.
that part can't be done. I'm saying I don't have the trucks to do it.
And
That's.
then
I mean, you should come by and take a look at what we have sometime. As far as the vehicles that we're driving, I mean, they're sketchy at
Get your
best.
snow blowers.
So anything's
I
possible.
snowblow my
It's-
driveway, it takes me an hour.
Six
It's
pack.
Oh yeah. When I first started, that 6x was still here.
built in the snow belt.
Team
So,
players.
So,
it-
you know,
it-
but then,
Team players.
what we've done to each other, we've shot ourselves in the foot with that kind of an approach. And I'm sorry you got trapped into it, because it really is a trap.
Yeah.
And that is that we made the decision, okay, we'll contract all this out so our guys, you know, do the easy work. And in the process, it's costing us $200,000 or $300,000 a year, and we haven't done anything about the equipment itself and let it sit over there and draw rust.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of at least selling it and getting something out of it. This is crazy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got a little passion.
I was just gonna say,
Well,
there's some passion over
Yeah,
there.
well, like I said, anything's doable. It just depends on what you want for the department. So, I mean,
know what I want.
if you want us to,
I'm only one member of the board, so
Right.
I'm not speaking for the rest of the board. But I want to plow snow in the very cheapest way we can. You know, plowing snow is like, I don't know what a fair analogy is, because it's like one of those things you do that's almost wasted motion because tomorrow it melts.
yeah, right.
You
No,
know,
I get you. Yeah.
It's crazy. So
Yeah.
we spend $225,000 a year to plow snow to let it melt.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we could do the same job ourselves for less than half that. I know we can do it for less than half that. Even
But if we don't have the equipment now,
Even if
we
we
have
had-
to buy the equipment. Yeah, it would pay off in the long run, but
You'd have the upfront
cost up
cost.
front.
Well, then you've got, like I said, the cost of, you know, it would take eight of my guys to do it. It's 36 hours to plow the district one time.
Well,
And something would have to give a little
potential
bit.
for a little of one and a little of the
Right.
other is there too. Maybe
Yeah.
you've got certain circumstances where it would make sense to contract Garwood, for example, because it's
Right.
out there someplace. But you got all these schools here in town, and this
Mhm.
is where your crew is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's no reason why your guys can't be plowing snow here in town. You're only as far away as your cell phone.
Right.
So if somebody needs you, there it is.
Yeah.
It depends too, though, when the snow falls. If
Right.
the snow's falling during the day and everybody's cars are in the parking lot, these guys can't get in there with the snow plows to plow. It's great when it happens later in the evening and they can plow it and it doesn't snow overnight and it's good for the morning. It just all completely depends
Yeah.
on when the snow falls.
There's definitely some variables. I mean, I can see a partial, maybe looking at like a partial contracting, like you were just talking about. You know, you've got the magging and the de-icing, and you've got the sanding that needs to take place too, which takes time. And then
I just know what these guys charge
Yeah.
for plowing snow and sanding.
Yeah.
And it's a gravy train for them.
Oh yeah.
You know
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We're taxpayer money
Yeah.
paying for that.
Yeah. Right.
And we've got to
Yeah.
put a stop to it if we can.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think it needs to be an ongoing.
So all I'm saying is look
Con-
hard- look
conversation
hard at it
because- Yeah. Well, hey, like I said, anything's doable. It's just a matter of what are we, well, I guess, what are we willing to give up regarding a very skeletonized crew left to handle stuff during the day. That's one of the main reasons why we switched it up was that.
Yeah, but the contractors don't generally plow in schools in session to speak of.
Well, depending on what happens with the storm, they'll come and do main arterials just to keep up on it, so the kids can get out.
But you know, you can't do parking lots when they're full of cars.
No, but I'm just talking about like when we come in at midnight to do our plow shift, and then we go home to sleep the rest of the day, and then we have basically a whole department unattended, meaning stuff just stacks up, I guess, at the end of the day. So I guess if the schools are okay with that, anything's doable.
We did it for
There's
years.
always and I did too. I mean, I plowed here for the first 5 years I was with the district. We did it, and I know. So it just depends. I mean, it depends on what the end result, the end users, the buildings, if they're willing to forego possibly service call. I don't know. I mean,
The
And
real
it's
end
really-
user is the taxpayer.
It's
really- Oh, yeah.
That's kind of
It's really dependent too on how much snow we have.
right.
I mean,
Right.
Some
we're in
winters are worse
we're in
than
a La
others.
Nina year this year, so it could be a lot of rain this year and not very much snow. Please God. But
Now that you've said that.
I know I shouldn't have
I
said.
know, when
anything.
you said, I was like, please stop talking.
Um,
Just don't
but
say it out loud. Just stop
we do have
talking. Please stop, no.
220. How much did you say we have budgeted for snow removal? 160 something.
140.
140. We spent 225 last year. And we
That's
have,
100, yeah.
and we have 140 budgeted.
Which is again when those things are gonna true up next year.
So what do we do, Mike, if we say, okay, Mike, your budget for snowplowing is $140,000, and we have a tough winter, and you end up needing more than that? What do you do?
What am I gonna do?
It's not your budget, it's not your budget, and it's $140,000, and you're halfway through the winter, and you've spent all your money, what do you do?
Well, in the situation we're in right now, I'd have to use the emergency funds. I wouldn't have the means to go out and do anything with it.
Right, so
I mean, I don't know what you'd want me to do with, I don't have the equipment.
I'm just trying to demonstrate for you.
No, I get it. I mean, either way, I'm good. If I have to go back out and start plowing again, we'll do it. It's just, it's gonna take some money up front to get us to that point, is all I'm saying. My grounds fleet is, we're lucky to get through a day without something going down. We're limping it along, so, I mean, we never got to the point where.
That makes me think of another issue.
Sorry I brought it all up.
I see Lakeland maintenance vehicles down at American Eagle quite often. Are you sending all your repair work out?
Yep, so transportation stopped working on our vehicles about 7 years ago. They didn't have time for it, so I had no choice but to find a local mechanic that could do repairs for us.
And you'll see in the state safety inspection that we just got for transportation that they, we do not have enough maintenance people for the fleet size that we have.
I will tell you though that I have a couple handy wrenches in my shop, and we will tackle vehicle maintenance from time to time to save a buck, but that takes a lot of time. It takes them out of the field.
Repairs, or are you sending out routine oil
Yep.
changes and that kind of
Yep,
stuff?
both. Yep.
See, I don't see why you do that.
Yep.
I mean, any flunky can change the oil in the vehicle.
Well, they can, but everything.
I can't, and I am not a flunky.
Everything for
But
my.
I can't.
If it does not tell me how in the owner's manual, it ain't happening.
I can tell you this, come the winter time, when my grounds crew is out of the trenches, I will use them for doing oil changes. We maintain all of our mowing equipment, and they will do vehicles. However, in the heat of the battle, when everybody's out working, it just takes people out of, it all reverts back to just not having enough people in my shop. I mean, the demand is like right here, 24/7, and me able to come through is right here. I mean, we can.
Maintenance hole that we stuffed ourselves into.
We do, and you know, I mean, it's very important to me to keep up on that routine maintenance on the rigs. We've invested money in them. We didn't have that really before. It's like, well, you know, you're 10,000 over on your oil. I can't have that. I mean, I can't, as a taxpayer and a steward of the money, we have to protect our investments. And so that's why I got set up with those guys on a fleet program over there, was to make sure that it's by the book, you know, and everything's done.
I have my vehicle repairs done over there, so I know what kind of charges they pass on.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I mean, it would be ideal if maintenance or if transportation was able to still do it for us, but that was not a possibility there. It was just too much.
I
So.
understand that because that was that way years ago.
Right.
As far as.
I do think that Colby said that his kids could do oil changes for you.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So
We just have to work him into his schedule, because I know that program is so popular.
Yeah.
The other thing is NIC does oil changes too at Parker.
So
One
anyway,
of the things I was gonna say is, if this is that important to you, we have $140,000 budgeted for snow removal. You could use that money to buy trucks so that he can do the plowing. I don't know if it buys us the number of trucks that we need.
yeah, that depends on what we're doing. What we would do. Are we buying used vehicles or are we buying new?
Yeah.
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 I mean, I think strategically the way to lay it out would be to start with, if we were going to go down this road, is to do the partial route, like you said, some contracting with some in-house, till we get to a point where we would just take it back over again. To go cold turkey with it and say, boom, you guys are plowing. It's going to take a substantial upfront investment, even using the plows we have, just in the vehicles alone. And I don't know, I mean, you would get that money back eventually, but I don't know that we're in a position right now to do that. So.
You know, and I can see, at least initially, maybe leaving your contract in place for Garwood and Athol, because they're kind of the outliers.
Right.
Everything else is closer in.
Right. Right.
But take a look at it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I promise not to say anything more.
No, you're fine, but I'm always looking for a better mousetrap. My whole career's been that way, trying to find a better way to do everything, you know, a more efficient way. And unfortunately, this situation, it wasn't my call. I was tasked with a duty, and I did it, and here we are, you know. So.
Another one.
Right. But again, we do potentially have $1 million in ESSER funds coming, so if this is something that's important, we could use those dollars to buy vehicles.
Well, and I mean, the reality
Can we
is.
use those dollars to buy vehicles? Maybe not, that's not a COVID. But we'd have to,
But we could
we could
potentially
shift things, we
shift
could
things,
pay, yeah, we could pay staff salaries.
Anytime
shift
you
it.
can spend a dime
To
to save
save.
a dollar, you should do that, but don't spend a dollar to save a dime.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Would
That
you
was
be
really
able
prolific.
to, because in looking at a graduated approach,
Mm-hmm.
realistically doing Lakeland, the middle school, and district office, John Brown bus and transportation, this little corner of the world right
Mhm.
here, leaving the outlier of Betty Kiefer, because that is off campus
Right.
for some respect,
Right.
and the north.
Mm-hmm.
If you could determine how many guys you think you might need, how many
Mhm.
trucks you think you
Mhm.
might need to do that, and come back to the board in August with, hey, you guys talked about it, to do a graduated increase, this is what it would take to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, we have a better idea of, okay, do we need 3 trucks, do we need 8?
Right, right.
You know,
Yeah,
which.
yeah, that's easy, I can do that.
Okay, and
Check.
the manpower behind it.
Yep,
Because
yep.
if you've only got 6 guys.
Right.
Then we would be in a world of hurt because we don't have the manpower whatsoever.
Right, right. Do you want me to
So-
include Mountain View? In that
Yes,
scope?
actually,
Okay,
because
all
they're
right.
right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
You
yeah,
might
that's fine.
check with Chris to see how many, Chris,
Mhm.
to see how many snow events they had last year that they had to go out and plow. Or even for us, how many times we had to have somebody
Mhm.
come
We
in
had
and plow.
4 snow
to-
days and 2 late starts.
But there were many more plows than that because not every
Yeah.
snow
Right.
did we shut
Right.
school down.
Right.
What's your protocol for calling a snowplow in?
2 inches or more.
Okay.
Yep. And honestly, between us and the fence post, we've done a lot of catering. There's a lot of like weekend plows that take place for sporting events and things like that. Back when I was plowing and things, it was kind of like, if it snows, you just kind of deal with it. We've almost kind of created a little bit of a monster in a sense that way. All these years, they just expect asphalt 24/7, and I guess maybe it's a little bit of our fault, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, it's 2 inches or more we roll, and
But does it become
That's
a
fair.
safety liability for us if we have an event at Timberlake High School at 7 o'clock at night on a Friday night and it snows and it's icy and we have the 70-year-old fall?
yeah, we spend a lot of that 200 and some odd thousand that we spent this year. I bet you a good portion of that was de-icer and sand.
Because that, I mean,
So-
I feel like that has become an expectation because
Right.
there's so many events.
And that in
that's
itself
I mean, we
is-
could go down a rabbit hole and look
Right.
at what we're charging for outside use of
Right.
the facilities too.
At the very least, maybe we
Oh,
would just
that's a good one
contract
to
that
get
portion
into.
out. The magging and stuff, because
Let's
that
not
poses
just
another
be done in 2
issue.
minutes.
Where do I get the mag from, right? These guys have it at their disposal. I would have to go borrow from the city, which I've done before, but I hate to do that. We're not really equipped for
You'd
it.
have to have a storage.
Exactly, and so that brings another
More
another
space for-
correct
yeah.
correct containment, the whole 9 yards. So long term, maybe it's just that we contract out. That would save a vehicle, would save me another body, save me the equipment I have to buy to get to that point.
So you
know.
just contract out the de-icer and the sand
Mhm.
and we take care of
Yeah,
that.
right. I mean, it would all have to be a
Can
rollout
you-
Because we
here.
have
I
to
mean,
buy
Can
the
you,
material anyway.
like, just put that down so that we
Yeah.
know that, maybe, option A, option B,
Mhm.
option C.
Sure.
Give
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
all of
Of
the
the
breakdown
needs.
of the
Yeah,
of what
Mhm.
the reality of the
which
situation.
one
What
it
it could
entails.
look
Yeah.
like.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have
Because
the
to
mag, we
me,
have to-
why doesn't
yes,
every school just
yeah.
have an ATV with a plow on it?
Oh yeah.
But that's just not
Right.
enough
Right.
for the scope of
Correct.
each project.
Correct. Yeah.
But
Right, because you can do sidewalks and stuff, but
Exactly.
and you can use
The other-
do like maybe a driveway, but an entire parking lot in a 6 or 8 inch snow event.
Yeah.
You're not pushing that snow with an ATV.
No. And
You have to have
another variable at some of these
some of
Tractor,
us
truck,
do
or-
try.
and another variable is at some of these sites is the snow management. loaders,
Where
big
is it?
equipment, right?
Right,
I
Where are
don't
we
have,
gonna put it?
I don't have it. I don't have the equipment to do that, you know? So there might be a situation where if we have to manage the snow on a site, case in point, Twin Lakes Elementary, that parking lot gets so plugged up with snow that the contractors come in, depending on the snowfall, every couple weeks, and they bucket the snow out to the field and dump it. I don't have a loader to do that. I mean, I don't have the equipment to do that. So there's variables here that we will
That would
still
be a
have to be tied to a
contracted
contractor at some point or another,
That
depending
would be
on.
another item on the list.
Exactly,
of
exactly.
the
So,
itemized winter.
But it's all
management.
doable. I mean, you're never gonna get a no out of me. I mean, there's always a plan B in my world. It's just, what are we gonna give up, I guess, to get to that point? And is it worth it? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So,
Well, and having a mechanic on the ready in case something goes wrong with one of the plow vehicles, because that plow vehicle is the only one that does Garwood. Garwood doesn't happen if that vehicle is down, so you have to have a mechanic on.
we're a bunch of MacGyvers.
staff
I was
to-
plowing at Athol Elementary. I got there to the school at like 12:30, dropped my blade, made one pass, and my one of my mounts broke on my plow. And I'm clear up in Athol, right? So here comes the old ratchet strap. Ripped out a ratchet strap, jacked it up, and plowed the rest of the shift with a ratchet strap on my plow. I had a shift lever break at Timberlake. I plowed the whole shift with a screwdriver stuck in the column. So I mean, we're MacGyvers over there. There's always a plan B with stuff. I mean, we can get her done. It's just right. You got to do what you got to do. It's just I don't have any faith in our current fleet to tell you guys reliably we can plow the district an entire winter.
And get
Just can't.
and get kids to school.
Right. I just can't make that. I can't make that promise.
And what you're really telling us is that's another case of deferred maintenance. We've allowed that fleet to deteriorate
Yep.
over time.
Yep.
Then you're in a box, you're in a hole.
Yep.
Dig your way out.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm still knee deep in it, and unfortunately, I'm still in reactionary mode, and I hate being that way, but I'm gonna be that way for some time yet before we can get, some stuff done. Yeah, I mean, it's just the way it is. I'm used to it. It's all I know. So.
I mean,
Well, I would encourage you, what it's gonna take to get you out of reactionary mode.
Yeah.
Bring that to us, because
sure.
we don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, we were in the same boat with you, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like,
Yep.
surprise!
Uh-huh.
And,
Yeah.
we don't wanna be that way. This
Right.
district shouldn't operate that
No.
way
No, I agree.
whatsoever.
I agree. Yeah.
So let us know, if we continue rolling down this pathway, here's where we're going to be in X
Mhm.
number of years. We could speed that process up, can
Mhm.
we?
Right.
Bring that information to us.
Okay. Yeah. We'll do.
Perfect.
I think the quarterly meetings
Yes.
would be helpful.
There's one other piece of outside work that we haven't talked about that I'm just kind of throw on the table. We have some concrete around
Oh my
some
gosh, yeah,
areas
we
that
do.
are really in tough shape.
Yep.
Somewhere, we need to plumb that in.
So in my world, that would be part of exterior renovations like we're doing. Case in point is Lakeland High School staff side, right? I got a bid to redo that entire sidewalk to the entries at $120,000. So, but that all goes hand in hand with me. If we're gonna stick with the outside, absolutely. I was gonna bring that up before and I forgot. Cause we have a lot of areas of concrete it's a safety issue.
And
It really
it's a
is.
safety issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the high school
Yep.
is certainly a safety
Yep.
issue.
So I'm in agreement with that. I think it just needs to be part of the
Well,
outside.
and making sure
and-
that people aren't driving up on I've literally watched a principal drive up on this sidewalk right here.
Well,
Drove their vehicle right up onto it like it was a parking spot.
yeah, I will tell you
Right in front of me.
that a lot of the problem with our sidewalks was self-inflicted because we plowed them with pickup trucks because we were told to, right? Not good, not good at all. So we've kind of created some of that ourselves. We don't obviously do that now, but yeah, we need to take a hard look at concrete too. Parking lots were on my normal summer routine, and that kind of stopped. I don't know why that stopped. I think it was because we can't. No,
Your contractor quit.
well that, but then it was the capital projects came up, and I was like, I was told, nope, that's on hold. Okay, well, at least I got 7 years worth out of
You can't do
it.
everything
So,
all at once.
right.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta prioritize
right.
and work
The
out.
parking lots are a big one. If you don't maintain those and you lose an entire parking lot, now you gotta pave the whole dang thing.
That's
If you
a
just
massive cost.
kept up on it,
Right.
right? took me years to get that into people's heads that it's a small price to pay if you maintain stuff. If you have to tear it all out and start over.
That's the 10 cents to the dollar thing. that
Right.
Paul
Yeah,
was
right,
talking
right.
about.
But then,
Yeah.
who am I? I'm just a
It's- Yeah.
guy behind a computer.
You are
So-
now a director, just so you know.
Instead of project
Pro-
manager.
project manager. I'm being promoted to director.
Yes.
After 7 years. So there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
All
so
right,
You
well-
have you have a to-do list I shared with you.
Okay. Sounds good.
So on that note, we will go ahead and end the workshop. It is 8:05.